right. Now, for those of you who don't know what this is, I'm going to solve as many as I can in a relatively short amount of time, keeping it fresh and fair. Not, I don't want to, sit here for 3 or 4 hours. That's stupid. But I'm going to show you actual tournament style, boom, boom, boom explanations with my dad's rules helping us. And this is what's going to help make you a better player. So right off the bat, we have coverage. We have a fence bishop here and a fence rook on the H file. So bishop takes pawn is actually a crisscross bishop checkmate. This is a Three Stooges checkmate. Now the king's on the corner. You only need two of the Three Stooges. We don't need Moe, Larry, and Curly. All we need is Moe and Larry. I got Moe and Larry. This is a checkmate. You'll notice I'm going to use a lot of phrases you've never heard in chess unless you've seen one of my videos, because these help you learn faster. This is the key. Now, this is what I call a self-sealing checkmate. Queen takes free bishop is what my dad would say. And since my pawn guards the dark square of D2, the queen self-seals the E2 square. So this is a checkmate. Okay, now what do we have here? King has limited mobility. Right off the top of my head, queen takes free bishop check. And this is not a checkmate, but this is nasty stuff already. He resigns, as he should. This is something I made up. This is not an actual chess tactic. There's actually a book that has all these tactics listed. There's like 14 different chess tactics. I call this one, though, you could label this as a chess tactic, but I made up my own separate group of this called Sometimes It's Just Checkmate. So this is sometimes the response is just checkmate. Queen takes free rook checkmate. Like I said, this is not in the book of chess tactics where it lists all the chess tactics, and it does so in a very scientific, non-emotional way. Well, guess what? You are a human. You have emotional connections. I use those emotional connections to strengthen your learning and improve it to a faster rate. So sometimes the answer is just checkmate. Okay, it's simple. It ain't rocket science. Okay, that's Elon. Okay, he's got the rocket science covered. All right. Now here, this is the double rooks. This is a battery of rooks on the 7th rank. This is 2 rooks on the 7th rank, and one of my friends, became a professor at LSU. So he's a PhD, very smart guy. In high school, he was like, just check him and check him and check him. And so what I did is took his idea and I focused it down to the momentum of check. That's what I call it. So we're going to play rook takes G7, check. King to H8 is the only legal move. Rook to H7, check. Again, keeping the momentum of we check, he responds. King to G8. The other rook on D7 goes to G7. That's a checkmate. So the momentum of check, he resigns. But the point is, I explained to you the sequence because sometimes the computer will resign, but you already know the move that wins. Instead of me going, I'm not some idiot who's faking that he's actually good. I have won numerous tournaments with cash prizes. That's the difference, okay? It's all real. I don't edit these videos. There's no funny business. You always see my hands. You know I don't have a computer running the solution of this, because I could do that if I edited the video. I'd go, and I would make my thing would look awesome because I'd have a streak like Hikaru, 80 wins, in a row. I don't have that. I'm not as good as Hikaru. I'm really good. I'm a great explainer of chess. But Hikaru is a way better player than me, and I'm okay with that. I don't have any pretense that my skill makes me inferior to him because he's one of the best players on the planet. Super player, okay? And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Here, this king is trapped. And again, sometimes it's just the obvious checkmate. Queen to e2, guarded by the knight, checkmate. Okay. Now, I always assume that I have new players checking out my videos. So I explain things that are repetitious in my videos. They're not repetitious in a negative way. They're repetitious to make sure that everyone has a fair footing. If I get a 6-year-old kid that sees this video for the very first video of mine he sees, he's going to be up to speed in one video of how I do this. Okay? I assume you're intelligent. I don't assume you're an imbecile. Because if you're an imbecile, why are you here? It's kind of self-obvious. Okay? Self-evident. So, again, now, Three Stooges right there. Moe, Larry, and Curly. Couldn't get any better. So what that means when I see the Three Stooges, certainly, is that if I can put a queen or a rook on the back rank, like, I don't know, say e1, I can checkmate this guy. Can I do that? I can play queen to e1 check. He's forced to play rook takes queen, and then I play rook takes rook check is also checkmate. So there you go. Three Stooges checkmate. That's what this is. Boink. Okay, now I'm going to teach you another one of my killer phrases, the bump and score. The bump and score is exactly what it sounds like. I use a piece to bump the king to another square, and then I'm going to score as a result of the movement to the other square. Now this is, the king is decoyed. This king will be decoyed to the a8 square because if his king's sitting here, you see that rook takes free rook's a checkmate, right? Well, let's make him go there. Bump him. Bump. Score. Could it be any simpler? I don't think so. A child can learn this. A 5-year-old child who knows the chess piece moves. He learns this in like 2 minutes, and he's a monster. We could show him bump and score and then give this kid 50 bump and score problems. He's going to get almost all of them right because I make it simple. That's what makes me special, is I make it simple for the player to improve himself. All right? This is another bump and score, but it's a little bit different. What happens here? Look at this king. Can't move, except if we check him, he can go to the back rank. H1, G1, or F1. Now, the way I check him, I can play knight f4 check. He goes pawn takes free knight. Well, that's no good. I can go knight to e3 because this f pawn is pinned by my rook. That's interesting. This check, knight e3 check, also keeps his king off of f1. So he's forced to go to g1 or h1. That's the bump. Knight e3 check is the bump. King g1 or h1, I don't care. Rook to e1 is checkmate. Got it? Simple. Now, one of the things you'll see on my channel is I have these videos. Can you solve this problem? Check out those problems and it will help you. They'll give you one shot, an explanation of pause the video, try to figure it out for yourself. You can try that on any of these problems as well. Usually I'll do that later once I've gone through a bunch of the easy stuff. Again, sometimes the answer is just queen to g7 checkmate. Okay, it ain't fancy. It's not rocket science. Again, sometimes it's just rook takes pawn on f7 guarded by the knight. And I tell you these things because this is important. Since that rook is guarded by the knight, it lowers your fear of making a mistake. It's a checkmate is what it is. Okay. As a lesser experienced player than myself, I have 55 years of chess playing experience. So it's natural for you who has less experience than me to be afraid. It's human nature, okay? And so I recognize human nature and explain these problems in a way that shows you that your human nature is natural and that there's a way around this to give you confidence. And in chess, confidence is so powerful. It's more powerful than you would think. But you have to play a lot of chess and get to a certain level before you see this effect. You're like, oh. I was watching a video of a really good player and YouTuber golfing chess, and he had a horrible game. He was just like, It was getting to him. Now he's substantially younger than me. He's about the age of my son, and it's his lack of age. It's like his lack of age experience. He lost all of his confidence, man, and it was getting to him. And I'm like, I could fix him that quickly. It's like he lost track of who he was as a chess player. And so he lost his confidence. And when you lose your confidence, man, I'm telling you, you feel like an idiot. Okay, so that's the thing. I'm older. And because that age gives me wisdom if you pay attention, and I pay attention. You know, even though he's a better player than I am, I'm a better old guy than he is because I'm actually old and he's a young guy. It's the trade-off. When you're younger, you're better looking. When you're older, you're not as good looking, but you're smarter if you pay attention. I paid attention. I'm smarter. Otherwise, I'd just be stupid and old. I'm old and smart. That's the difference. Okay, here it's real simple. It's a bump and score. It's a decoy. We want to get this king away from this pawn. If we could play rook takes h2 check and he couldn't take the rook, that's a checkmate. So let's go g4 check, force king to h4 bump to the bad square, and then rook takes free pawn is checkmate. Even though we're a rook down, it's a forced checkmate. Whoops. There you go. Self-sealing checkmate. It's a variation of the Three Stooges. Notice I have Mo on h2 and Larry on g2, and the queen makes an artificial curly, or what I call the virtual curly on f2. So there's a Three Stooges checkmate because the queen self-seals the escape square of the king. Simple. So simple, even a child genius could see it. Sometimes it's just, oh, I can't play knight to f6 from here and checkmate him. I can use the other knight. Checkmate. And I like to show this every once in a while. So quickie, move checkmates, Hikaru style. All right. What this does is reinforces what I told you. I don't fake videos. I don't need to fake them. If you're actually good, you don't need to fake it. So I don't fake it. So here, look at this. We got a fence bishop. This bishop is a fence piece, and the fence means you can't cross his line. So he hits the h2 square. This rook is going to be useful in a moment. Right now, it's not very useful. This rook, I'm going to check him. Rook to g8 check. The only move I can play is what? King h1. And then, this rook here on g8 becomes a fence piece. All right, it owns the g file. And then rook takes h6. Rook takes h3. That's a checkmate. Game over. He resigned. And I tell you that for a reason. Sometimes it's knight takes free rook checkmate. Okay. Now, I want to tell you this before I forget. And that is, yes, that was a quickie, blah, blah, blah. Do not live for the quickie move to make you look like a hot shot, okay? My dad had a rule, super powerful. Don't be fancy. Do your business, but don't be fancy. I don't do that to be fancy like Hikaru, except here, I do tell you I'm doing it to be fancy just to show you that it's real, okay? My skills are real. I could do these even faster than I'm doing them, but it's a bad habit, and you're going to make mistakes. And I'm going at a faster speed than I would normally go in tournament play. And I will make some mistakes because of it. It's okay, because I'm going to explain the mistakes that I make to you, and so you're going to learn from my mistake. It's fine. But in a real chess game, take as much time as it takes for you to get the job done. If it takes you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, at the end of the round, when you're at a tournament and you go to the score sheet, it's like, and you go, to the tournament director, and it's like, what happened in your game? I won, Mr. Jones, a made-up name, lost. So 1 for you, 0 for him. No one ever comes up and says, hey, how did you do in your game? I won. Oh, did you beat him in 10 minutes? No, it took me 2 hours. No one ever asked that question because you know what? No one cares. They're like, you won. Oh, that's okay. They're like, all right, I'm just saying, a guy you don't know, friendly guy. He could be a friend of yours, but he's like, what happened? They saw your game and they're like, what happened? Okay, you won. And then round 2 comes up Same thing happens. You won again. Like, oh yeah, this guy won 2 games. He got something going on. Round 3, you won. Oh, geez, this guy's like, okay. He's starting to piece it together. You're not just some random dork. It doesn't matter how fast you won your game. Now, it does matter in the context of if your every game is 5 and 6 hours long, you could get tired, possibly. All right. But I'm just saying, in the cosmic scheme, you're going to be playing these at a reasonable amount of time. Take the time it takes for you to be secure in making your moves. Don't be Hikaru speed chess. Even Hikaru loses games because in speed chess, I've seen him do it. And it happens to every grandmaster as well. They make a move and they're like, oh, you idiot. You see it in their face. They realized that they moved before they saw what they saw after. It's one of those things I call it. When you release your hand from the piece, you become instantly smarter than you were while you were holding the piece. I don't know why it is, but it's true. So here the move is clearly, I see this queen and rook are vulnerable to a bishop skewer. Okay, I saw this way back, but before I lost my mental train, I wanted to let you guys know, don't play for speed, play for accuracy. Accuracy wins tournaments. Speed looks impressive for a YouTube video. All right, here, look at this. Bishop fork. Check on e3, bishop takes free rook. Now you got to be careful. Is this the best move? That's a good question. I don't know. It's probably not the best move because if I take this rook, he's got this battery of this queen and this, queen to e2. I'm sorry, is that e2? No, queen to d7 check looks mighty dangerous. So let's go. As this phrase is used, pump the brakes. Okay, we have a winning move, win a rook. Okay, but in the end, that's not that big of a deal because he's got 2 rooks and we don't have any. So bishop e3 check is the first move that my chess eye sees, but I'm telling you, my chess brain says, wait a minute, young man. You need to make sure you're making the right move. Otherwise, you're going to be checkmated. Okay? So my thinking switches. I have a chance to make a discovered attack with, say, knight to e3, which guards f1 and g2, allowing queen to f1. That looks like a good move, I'm telling you. So, knight to e3 check. Now, he could stick a rook in here. We'd take the rook with check. He could stick a knight in here. We could play queen takes knight check. But we're going knight e3 check. Let's go to the end of the line. Knight e3 check, knight e1. Queen takes e1 check. Where are you going, Bobby Fischer? Checkmate. He's not going anywhere. So the move is e3. But it's knight e3 is the winner, not bishop e3 check. But bishop to e3 check is the tempting move. Now, this is the key. And I'm glad I have this problem because your chess eye, my chess eye, saw bishop e3 check like this, but the chess brain always rules over the eye because the chess brain is slower and wants to go through the process. There's the rook I told you about. Queen takes free rook. That's what my dad would say. Check. Queen takes free knight. That's also checkmate. Outstanding. This is an old trap based on the Philidor's defense. Bishop takes f7 check. King e7. Knight d5 is a checkmate. This is written in a book. If you see this, it's written legal. It's called an American would say that's the legal mate. Well, actually, legal is not the correct way to pronounce it. That was a French man's name. His name was Legal. So this is known as the legal mate. But if you read it in English, like I'm an American, or if you're British or etc., if you're an English-speaking person first and not a French speaker first, you see it's the legal mate. This is the legal mate. You learned something today. I don't know much French, but I know some French from chess. Legal is one of the words. Philidor is another one. Okay, what are we doing here? Okay, this is an endgame position, and these are great because I'm going to give you some basic endgame principles you need to understand. So, there's three types of endgames you really going to have to study at some point. Pawn only endgames, rook and pawn endgames, and also minor piece and pawn endgames, bishop and knights, bishop versus knight, bishop versus bishop, knight versus knight. So I just say bishops and knights and pawns, okay? Those are the three different kinds. They'll cover the basic majority. Now there's some queen stuff, et cetera, but let's just not get ahead of ourselves, okay? It's like when I was in college, I was an ace in advanced integral and differential calculus. But in first grade, you learn 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 plus 2 equals 4, that kind of stuff. So we want to work our way up to queen and bishop endgames or queen and rook, what have you. Stay simple first. Now, always myself, I'm going to tell you this is my personal journey in endgames. I said, well, as a science student and a math student, I need to become the most devastating pawn endgame player I can be. I achieved that goal. So I'm always looking to go rook takes rook and make this into a pawn endgame. Rook takes h3, pawn takes h3 is forced. At this point, I go, now when we're in the role of pawn only endgames, the number one most important rule is, can a king stop a pawn from queening the passed pawn? This is a passed pawn, meaning it has no pawn to stop its progress. And there's something called the rule of the square. You start with the square the pawn is on and count to the queening square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this becomes a 5 by 5 square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, that king is not in this virtual 5 by 5 square, is he? The answer is no, he is not. That means he cannot stop my pawn. Rook takes rook, pawn takes rook, a4, and Magnus Carlsen cannot save you. You can line up all the grandmasters in the world on the other side. You guys can choose I got you. I don't care. Magnus, you can't stop me. And Magnus would go, square of the pawn, you're right. I resign. Okay, it's one of those things. This is just a fact of life. It doesn't matter. A4, it's over. He will resign because I'm going to queen and he can't stop it. Notice the square went to 4 by 4. He is outside of that. Now it goes to 3 by 3. He's one outside of that. 2 by 2. He's done. Simple. Oh, this is another classic pawn endgame. You need to learn this, and I'm glad they showed this one up here. This is nice. Easy to learn. This is what is known as Zugzwang. Or, if you're an English-speaking guy like myself first, it's a German word, and you would say this word based on the way it's spelled in English, Zugzwang, which you may have used yourself if you weren't taught by somebody who was a much more educated chess player or someone who understands German, etc., etc. I, studied German. I can get by, all right? But this is a Zugzwang. And what is a Zugzwang? The Zugzwang means everything you do is bad. Everything white does is horrible. I'm going to play the simplest move in the world. King to c7. It says king can't move. His pawn can't move because the king's blocking the pawn. So he has to move a pawn. Can this pawn move? This pawn cannot move. So he has to play the worst move you could possibly play. G4. How does black respond? Pawn takes free pawn. Guess what? I'm going to queen this dude. And since I'm on c7, when he queens, he's going to queen also. But he's not going to queen with check. And when I queen, I'm going to come back and hit him with a check on this long diagonal and annihilate him. This is a classic educational king and pawn endgame. King c7, it's over. You could resign at any point. Again, put all the grandmasters in the world to make the move. Magnus Carlsen, you cannot stop me. Pawn takes free pawn. Pawn to g3. He goes pawn to the 6th rank. I'm on the 6th rank for black. Pawn to g2, pawn to h7. Queen, queen, and then simply queen to g2 is a checkmate. He can't stop it. There it is. That's a checkmate. So, man, I've been waiting to do a video with that problem. It's a classic chess problem. Okay. Now, this is another one. We have a rook battery here, c1 and c7. The answer is simple. Rook c8 check forces king to d7, the only legal move, and then rook 1 to c7, and shazam, he's checkmated. You see this? This is a checkmate because the d5 pawn cuts off his escape square. Slam dunk. All right. Man, this is super easy. Sometimes it's just checkmate. This is why, now this is known as a fianchetto position. Again, as an American, it's spelled, it's an Italian word. It's spelled, and my dad would say this, which was hilarious because my dad spoke 4 languages fluently. Fianchetto is how you spell it if you use the rules of English. But it's not English, it's Italian. And so it's spelled Chetto. It's chetto in English, but in Italian rules of speech, it's chetto. So this is the fianchetto bishop formation. When the bishop is gone, you're vulnerable to stuff like queen to f6 checkmate. The knight guards g8, the queen guards g7. Hasta la vista, baby. All right, so you got a free lesson there. Wow, the move that jumps off the page to me, bishop takes knight, check. And this is a queen as a diagonal fence here on the light squares. Bishop diagonal fence on the light squares. Bishop takes knight, check. If he doesn't take the bishop, his queen has to come forward. So he's going to play pawn takes bishop, and then I can annihilate him with either queen takes free rook or queen takes pawn check, winning this bishop if I want to, if I'm not outright checkmating him. I'm not going to outright checkmate him, so I'm going to play bishop takes knight check, pawn takes bishop, queen takes pawn check, king to like e8, and then queen takes free bishop, removing the liability of losing my rook. Now, that's what I think is going to happen. So it's going to cost me a bishop to win a knight, a pawn, and a bishop. He's going to have 2 rooks, a bishop, and a knight. I'm going to have 2 rooks, 2 knights, and a bishop. I'll be a knight ahead. Game over, you lose. Yeah, not today. All right? That's simple stuff. Don't make it complicated. Don't be fancy. That's what my dad said, okay? This is when I say my dad had all these rules that are all common sense. It's all common sense stuff. But we're playing in the 70s. And I swear to you, my dad taught me how to play at the end of the 60s. I was like 6, almost 7 or 7 years old. So that would have been like 1969. Late 1969 at some point during the year. I know, that I think it was could have been summer of 69, which then at that point I would have been 6 3/4 or 6.5 actually. Something like that. Anyway, I don't know. Unfortunately, my father died several years ago, so I can't ask him. He would be the only one who would know besides me. My mom wouldn't know because she was not involved in my chess business. I never really played chess with my mom to speak of. It was my dad turned me into a chess monkey. So here, the move that jumps off the page, queen e3 check. Nothing else looks really that great. If I do that, he's forced to play king to a8. Notice that this rook is a fence rook, and I invented this term. You never hear this. This rook is a fence. It owns the b file, so he can't go there. So a fence, it builds a wall. You cannot go there. That's what the fence does. So it's a fence rook. Queen e3 check. Now he could interpose knight d4, queen takes free knight check, c5, queen takes c5 check, king to a8, and then knight takes c7 is a checkmate. So he's getting checkmated, and I'm showing you all the possible moves he can stick in between my queen to e3. Notice queen to d4 loses to knight takes free queen. and his queen can't do anything about it. I'm going to lose control of my rook, but I'm checking him, and so the momentum of me checking the king, he has to respond to the checks. I don't care about the rook. The rook is going to help me win the game. I don't have to worry about protecting it. There it is. Queen takes free knight check, just like I told you. Queen takes free pawn check, and then he resigns because knight to c7 is checkmate. I tell you up front what's going to happen in case the machine does what it just did. It resigned. And you're like, well, what does it mean? Well, if I was faking this video and not really strong, I wouldn't be able to answer you quickly. I tell you in advance what will happen, and when it happens, you're like, it was checkmate. I already told you. Your brain is working. That's how you know this is getting, or your brain is working. Okay, king and pawn endgame. Really just a pawn endgame, but in my mind, it's programmed to say king and pawn. The kings are there every time. Whatever floats your boat is fine. So the obvious move here is king to f5. The reason is, and it's a very important concept. You got to know this concept. Once you know it, you'll never forget it. This is with you forever. And if I'm the guy that teaches it to you, it's my honor to teach you the concept of what is known as direct opposition. Direct opposition is when the kings are vertically or horizontally one square apart. So king to f5 means he's going to have to move his king. He can move his pawn if he wants to, but that's a terrible move. But his king will not be able to move and hold this position. Direct opposition means you have the advantage, means the other guy has to move to a bad square if that's what happens, and then you profit off of his moving away. It's almost like musical chairs. Musical chairs, when you get down to the last chair, you're like, I don't want my rear end to be too far away from the seat of the chair because I want to put, when the music stops, I want to put my butt in the chair. That's really what it is. It's a musical chairs concept, which you learn as a child. Okay, but this is the chess version. So king to f5, exclamation, best move on the board. I could play king to d5, but he could decide, I'm not going to let you come into this white square, and he'll play king to e7 to block me off. And so it's you see quickly, king d5, the best move is king e7. Not today, Sonny. King f5 for white. He's screwed. If he goes king g7, I infiltrate. King e6, I'll play king to e7. He'll move away, and I'll just eat this pawn for nothing, like Pac-Man. Or king f5, if he goes king to e7, I'm going to go king to g6 and eat this 8 pawn. He's dog meat. I don't care, Magnus Carlsen. I will crush you in this position. Okay, he went to g7 to protect the h pawn. Fine. I'm going to go king e6. He's going to make a move. Actually, he's already screwed. But, it doesn't matter. I'm going to take this this f pawn from him. King takes free pawn. Now, king takes the other free pawn. Now, I might be stupid. I might be mentally fixated on king to g6. I don't want to do that. He's threatening my pawn. If I don't eat this pawn, he's going to eat my pawn and queen. You dead. This is a great one. Can you solve this problem? Give yourself 3 minutes on this one. Try to figure out what the solution is by pausing the video. And I'm going to show you the solution. This thing is this quick for me. Once I show this to you, inside of 5 minutes, you're going to go, my brain just grew. All right. So I'll be back in 3, 2, 1. The solution is one of the craziest moves you've ever seen. You're like, what? What did you just do? Queen takes f2. He's dead, Jim. Okay? Doesn't matter what you do. If you don't capture it, king to h1, bump and score, queen takes free rook, checkmate. So he's got to take it. All right? He takes it. Rook takes free queen. Who wouldn't take a free queen? I probably would. Well, I can see this instantaneously. This is one of those things that when I teach it, brother, it's taught for life. You'll never forget it. What happens here is where we've decoyed the rook to a horrible square, allowing us to back rank, check him with the b8 rook. So rook to b1, check. By the way, queen takes f2 check was double exclamation. Best move on the board. Okay. So rook b1 check. Now he can play queen c1, wasting it. Rook takes queen check. Rook to e1. Rook takes free rook check. When the rook goes back to f1, now he's going to resign because I can play either rook takes on f1 and it's a checkmate. So there you go. I told you. I told you he would resign also. The reason is there's more than one solution. The computer's programmed to only react to one solution. And so when there's an obvious double solution, you'll see the checkmate. The resignation of the program because of the obvious checkmate. I'm just giving you the heads up on that one. So, it's just like one of those things. Okay, now this is fairly obvious. You might want to, give yourself 2 or 3 minutes to see if you can solve this problem on your own before I show it to you. So pause the video, come back, and I'll be there in 3, 2, 1. The answer here is fairly obvious, but I'm going to explain this thoroughly so you grab this again and you'll never forget it. Queen checks. Well, the only legal move he's got would be king to g7. Now, the gut reaction is to play queen to f8 check, but this is not going to get any good. Not going to do any good because this queen is a fence on the diagonal that's white. Okay, so this becomes a fence post queen. All right, queen e8 check, king g7. The winning move is bishop to f8 check. And now he's got a problem. Notice he can't go to g6 because my queen owns the light squares. He's got to go either g8 or f8. And then we crush, h8. And we crush him with the discovered attack. Bishop takes h6. And that's a checkmate. He resigns. Okay. I told you why he resigned in advance of the resignation. Okay. Now, this one is another relatively easy problem. There's 2 stages to this. Give yourself 2 or 3 minutes, see if you can solve this, and I'll be back in 3, 2, 1. This is stage 1. Now, the thing is, what I'm going to do is not solve this for you yet. I'm going to give you a chance. If you didn't get it, there's nothing wrong with that. You're here to learn and profit from the information you learn from my video. I'm going to give you the hint. The hint is if you play the right move, you're going to win this bishop for free. It's just that simple. All right? So give yourself 2 or 3 minutes. Try again. And I'll be back in 3, 2, 1. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. You could play, if you play bishop takes bishop, it's not the best move. He's going to take your queen. Rook takes queen. So you're going, that doesn't work. Okay. Here's the move that wins is queen takes rook. And you're like, well, why would you give your queen away for rook? I'm not really doing that. He's going to play queen takes queen. I'm going to play rook takes queen. He's going to go rook takes rook. And then it's like, this is known as removal of defender. The defender of this bishop is the queen. The defender of this rook is the queen. So what this is what is known as an overloaded piece. This queen is defending 2 pieces, but can really only defend 1 at a time. So queen takes rook, queen takes queen, rook takes queen, rook captures queen on c8, and then bishop takes free bishop because the bishop has lost his defender. No big deal. But it's a very powerful lesson that you can use, and it opens up these tactics. You're like, oh, I see. But until someone explains this to you, it's kind of difficult. See, here you go. I have 3 minor pieces. He's got 2. I've got 2 bishops and a knight. He's got 2 knights. I'm a minor piece ahead. Smoked. Okay? Absolutely smoked him. Okay, now what? That's my dad's favorite phrase. What are you going to do now, Bobby Fischer? Today, the phrase would be altered to, what are you going to do now, Magnus? Okay, Magnus, what are you going to do? Good question. What about okay, I'm going to tell you what I call the brute force technique. The brute force technique is take the most obvious move you can think of. That's not stupid. Queen to b1, knight takes free queen. That's stupid. Queen to e1 check. That's a reasonable looking move. So take a reasonable looking move and go, what can I do? Well, queen e1 check. What's he got to do? One move. King h2. I got another check. I can go knight to g4 check. How does that work? I don't know. It's a good question. King to g3. Am I getting anywhere? I don't know yet. It's not looking good, to be honest with you. King to g3. Well, I don't have a good move there, to be honest with you. That's not helping. Queen checks here. Okay, now there's another move I could do. I could reverse the order. This is another classic. So we take the idea of brute force check. Brute force technique says most obvious move, usually a check, threatening something. And then if it doesn't work, flip the move. So instead of queen to e1 check, king h2, knight g4, we could play knight to g4 check. Now I'm threatening queen to e1 checkmate. This might be of some value. I don't know. Problem is, he can play a lot of things that would stop this threat of checkmate because there's no check. Interesting. And I would love to fork this guy and drill this rook. That's not happening. Check. King to h2. I could play queen takes f2, but he's got all kinds of... Look, I got queen, knight, and rook. He's got a knight, a rook, 2 bishops, and a rook ahead of me. He's crushing me. I'm getting annihilated over here. Check. King h2, check again. King g3, forced only move. So what? I don't know, man. This is what makes chess difficult. Sometimes these problems are not easy. Krudsky. I don't know. Oh, imbecile. Queen to e1 check, king h2, knight g4, king g3, queen takes f2 check guarded by the knight. He now has to play king takes knight. And I hit him with f5. Check guarded by my queen on f2. Is this a checkmate? I think it might be. Or if it's not a checkmate, it's real close. All right, check. My queen guards g3 and h4. So he's checked. He's got to play king g5. And then I can play queen to f4. Yes, it's a forced checkmate is what it is. This is what a concept that I explain as you look at a sequence, and my sequence of moves was queen e1 check, king h2, knight to g4, and I couldn't find another move that looked good. So I went, in this case, we're going to call it 3 moves. Queen move, king move, and knight move. I looked 3 moves deep. The solution is you need to look 4 piece moves deep. I got to put this on the camera. Okay. So you got to have 4 piece moves. I only looked 3 moves deep, and so I couldn't find the solution. So this is what I call, I looked X moves deep and found nothing. This is the sequence that I call X plus 1. So I had to go to the X plus 1, the 4th move, to find the winning move. Crush. 2, here's 3. 4, sacrifice the knight, which is not natural. He takes it. Now, actually, I could just, instead of playing f5, I can just go directly and play queen to f4 check. This is a revision of my thinking. Now, in these problems, you must play the shortest sequence that wins. If you play a sequence that throws in an extra check and whatever that still would win in a tournament, you'll get a big X on this. So f5 check will work. Actually, it doesn't work because it leaves the control of f6. But if it worked, it would lose. Queen f4 check. Notice his king has no moves except h5, at which point I would play g6 check, rook takes g6, pawn takes g6. He's toast right here. Now, I can't play queen h6 check as king g4 escapes, but I've got g6 and 2 guys protecting it. So he's got two defenders, the king and the rook. So g6 check. Rook takes g6 check, stops the checkmate. F takes g6 is actually not playable because this queen is pinning my pawn. So h takes g6, checkmate. So there you go. It's the x, didn't get it, so I needed to go x plus 1, and it's a checkmate. Outstanding. All right. So let's test your knowledge and test your learning. See what you learned. Give yourself 3 minutes. See if you can solve this problem. And I'll be back with a solution in 3, 2, 1. It's the same thing we did before. The same square. Everything is the same except the pieces. So the move is queen takes f2, check, double exclamation. And instead of, remember the last problem, we had rook to b1 check. Well, it's rook to d1. It's a back rank rook check. Rook takes free rook. He will resign because rook to f1, we have the rook on f takes his checkmate, or the rook on e takes on checkmate. There you go. If you got that problem, thumbs up. You learned something inside of the video. You learned a problem solution and saw a similar sequence, and boom, you solved it. That, I can't tell you that anything would be more successful than that. And as my dad would say, know your checkmates, because this is just a checkmate. All right. Okay, now here's a good one. What are you going to do now, Bobby Fischer? Well, I can't play queen g7 checkmate. Well, but sometimes it's just queen takes free knight checkmate. Look at it. It's a checkmate. I hold this for you so you can see this visually, because you're going to learn faster visually than any other way. There you go. That was my gift to you. Okay, what are we doing? Oh, crud. I don't know. Well, we have some interesting stuff going on here. All right, we're black. Now, queen to b4 check doesn't work because knight takes free queen and you're dead. However, there's a technique we can use called threatening unstoppable checkmate. I don't know that this is unstoppable checkmate, but we're threatening a checkmate if I play c4. Now, you have to be able to look at the board and go, does the opponent have any meaningful, non-stupid responses that stop you? The answer is, in this case, it's fairly easy. The answer is no. He could check me with queen takes pawn, or queen takes this pawn check, or queen takes this pawn check, but he's just losing the game. It doesn't matter. So those are trivial concerns. If once I play c4, I'm threatening rook, queen to b3 checkmate. Can he stop that? The answer is yes. He can stop that with knight to b4. But this is what we want to know. And this is the brute force technique is part of this technique. I'm threatening unstoppable checkmate theoretically, or I'm threatening a legitimate checkmate on b3. He can stop it with knight to b4 because we asked the correct question. Can he stop it? The answer is yes. How do you stop it? Knight to b4. Well, now can we check him and exploit this knight? The answer is yes again. Queen to a5 check. c4, knight to b4. Always rerun this in your head. c4, knight to b4, queen to a5 check. He can't go to b3 because the pawn is here. He has to go to b2. Queen takes free knight check. Uh-oh. Or as Scooby-Doo would say, ruh-roh. He's getting annihilated right here by c4. Oh, well, that stops it also. But queen takes free knight. Check. Now, here's a mistake that I made. Mistake being in quotations. I did not see this move. I'm going to be honest with you. And this is the thing that makes chess difficult. You cannot see every move. You will run into a position where you miss something. This is where my overall experience, 55 years, is represented, as I say, my spidey senses are strong. I know I'm winning this when I play c4. I expected knight b4 to be the move and then play queen a5 check, which I showed you. I didn't see this at all. So my spidey senses told me I'm winning. I am winning. Queen takes free knight check. Again, king to b2. And I've got this guy with, either probably queen to d2 is devastating. And I'm just going to go c3, c2, c1, queen. It's over. He resigned. Okay. But I made a quote mistake. I didn't see everything. You just gotta go, as my dad would say, go with what you know. All right. I went with what I could figure out and know, and my spidey senses were correct. I was winning. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't, and even the grandmasters themselves will tell you, I didn't see everything, because it gets complicated sometimes. And your focus, your internal focus, will rise and fall during games, which is why your confidence is so valuable. I told you the lesson from Gotham Chess. He lost confidence and he fell to pieces. He showed us the game, and it was a horrible game from his perspective. But like a man, he showed us the game that he lost, and he was like, I just couldn't get the moves right. And he did not say, I watched it, and he didn't, I don't know if he realized that the mistake he made was he lost confidence. Instead of looking back and go, wait a second, I'm under trouble here. Who am I? YouTube sensation, international master, strong player. He's beaten a lot of grandmasters, okay? Fantastic job. Sometimes you gotta, look at your own press clippings and go, dude, I'm a bad mother, all right? I can solve this problem. But if you lose confidence, man, you feel like a complete zero, okay? Even when you're an excellent player, needs an excellent player. So we can use his lesson that he's shared with us. He shared a lesson that I don't even think he realized that's what he shared, but that's okay. You're gonna see stuff that I don't see. I saw something he didn't see. That's the thing. Chess has this universal appeal. So here, I'm going to use my dad's rule number 2. It's really the greatest. It's the greatest single concept in the game of chess. Not because my father said it. I evaluate things on their objective value. Gold is objectively more valuable than silver when you have the same weight, okay? So my dad's phrase was gold. Rule number 2 states, he didn't call it rule number 2. He just said, what's he trying to do to me? He said it so often, it was the phrase in chess that he said right up there. His number one phrase that he would say to me was either, what's he trying to do to me? Or, what are you going to do, Bobby Fischer? So that's the thing. What's he trying to do to me? And he said it, and I structured my, what do you call it? Philosophy of chess is that know how to win the game is number 1. Number 2, what's he trying to do to me? So what's he trying to do to me? He's trying to do queen takes g7 checkmate. So guess what? I can defend this. I can defend this 2 ways. I can go knight to e8, defending this with my knight. My king is there. I'm safe. But this problem highlights the Bobby Fischer style of chess. The Bobby Fischer style of chess is, okay, I can stop you. Knight e8 is the safe way to stop you. But Bobby Fischer was like, his thought process was, how can I stop you and threaten something at the same time? The answer is knight to h5. You're dead. Because now I'm counterattacking your bishop with queen takes free bishop. So knight h5 is a crushing move. Because no matter how he moves his queen, I'm going to win this bishop for free. I might, if he goes queen g4, I might trade queens and then take his bishop. Or I might just take his bishop. I don't know. This is the winning move. No, well, queen takes free bishop. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to play queen takes h6. He can't take my knight because the queen guards it. So that is the Bobby Fischer style of move. He made that move. Not that move specifically, but he made that type of response to be so devastating that there was a thing called Fischer fear, and it's real. People were afraid of Bobby Fischer because he was an awesome player, because of the way he had of counterattacking in the positions that didn't look like you could counterattack. He saw X plus one ahead of grandmasters, which meant he was, looking 8 moves, 7 moves, 9 moves, depending, plus one. Okay, that's the deal. So here the obvious move is check this guy in the back rank. Well, rook e1 check, queen takes free rook, you lose. That's no good. Queen to b1 check, rook takes free queen. You lose again, also no good. Well, I got queen to f1 check. How's that? All right, king h2 is forced. No problem. What are you going to do now, Bobby? Well, how about rook to e1 threatening a checkmate? Oh, that's nasty. Well, that's a good question. What happens? He's got to move his queen, right? He moves his queen to, I don't know, let's just say some square where it's out of the way. Queen to b3. Queen f1 check, king h2, rook to e1, queen to b3, queen to h1 check. This is brute force technique. King goes to, I don't know, some square, f4. Well, we could go queen h2 check. That's a possibility. Oh, I see. That is the problem because I'm skewering this rook. Well, he's got a b3, whatever. It's not obvious. What are we doing? It looks like the only move. Queen f1 check, king h2, rook e1, queen, I don't know, f3, for example. Check, king g3. Do we have a good check is the question. Rook to f1, check. Looks good to me. Sometimes I'm not 100% sure. Yes, I was correct. This is Spidey senses told me that rook e1 was the move, and he sees there's a forced win. Scram, Sonny. Oh boy, my favorite. King and pawn endgames. Well, I'm somewhat short of grandmaster skill at king and pawn endgames, but I'm in the neighborhood. That's why it's my favorite. Let's go with the obvious move. King takes f4, king takes f7, king takes e5, king takes g6. Is this the right move? Oh, no. Now, this is the brute force technique. Take the most obvious move. King takes pawn, king takes pawn, king takes pawn. He plays king takes pawn. I move out of the way, king e5, what have you, and queen, but that's not the right move. There's an in-between move, and this is one of the tactics of chess that separates it from other games. The in-between move, or the actual term, is a German term. Zwischenzug means in between. Zwischen means in between. Zug in German means move. In between move literally is the translation, literally to English. And that is king takes pawn, exclamation. King takes pawn, exclamation, best move. And the move that wins for black is not king takes pawn, it's king to f5. Guarding both pawns in direct opposition. Remember that I mentioned that earlier? We're in direct opposition, and now his king is screwed. If he moves the pawn, we take it, and then queen this pawn. If he moves out of the way, then we take advantage of that situation as well. I hope. That's the question. King takes pawn, king takes pawn. King to f5, king to g7. Is that really the move? It's the same thing if king takes pawn, king takes pawn. And he queens in 4 moves, and I queen in more. It's terrible. So you know what? king takes pawn may not be the right move. It might be king to g4, king takes pawn, king takes h4. That's terrible too. How about king takes pawn, king takes pawn? Holy moly. This is starting to look real ugly. King takes f4. King takes f7. I thought the in-between move was crushing of king to f5, but it's not. He's got king to g7. I don't have a really good pawn move after that. I can't, if I go king takes f4, king takes f7, king f5, king g7, g5, he'll just play h5. Well, okay, what if he does h5? I go g4, h6, g3, h7, g2, queen, g1, queen. With check. Aha! It might be the move. Oh, man. This is a long one. King takes pawn, king takes pawn, king f5. Well, yeah. King f5, king to g7. Well, he could play king take. No, that's right. He could go king to e7, but I would just take here and I'd be in opposition again. King to e7 absolutely loses. King takes f4, king takes f7, king f5, king e7, double question mark. King takes e5 is just winning. That's over. So it's king takes pawn, king f5, king g7, exclamation, and then g5. If he trades, king takes, king f7, king f5. I'm going to eat this pawn and queen this. He's done. So, again, always restart, especially this long one. Restart from the beginning. King takes pawn, king f5. I think this is exclamation. King g7, I think that's exclamation. g5, I think this is exclamation, the best move. So he can't trade pawns because I win with a simple king takes and he's done. So h5, g4, h6, g3, h7, g2, h8, g1, queen with check. Now remember, I'm on f5 with the king. So check, he's got a problem. Because if he's forced, which I think he's forced to go to the h file, I check him, he goes back, I take his queen, and then cash in. Go again and again. You got to get the whole sequence right. If you make one misstep, X. All right. King takes pawn. King takes pawn. King f5. King g7. g5. h5. g4. h6. g3. h7. g2. h8 equals queen. g1 equals queen. Check. His king is on g7. He could go to f7, but I'm on f5, and I would go queen checks on g6. And it looks bad for him to a degree. Now, that looks like a winner to me. Correct. He resigns. Outstanding. Hard. This is why chess is hard. Holy guacamole, do I feel good. Like James Brown. I feel good. Okay. Man, that's a toughie. Well, man used my dad's rule number 2. What's he trying to do to me? Pawn takes free knight. All right, that's fairly obvious. The question is, can I do something about it? I don't know. Can't take this knight. Queen takes my queen. I could go knight to e6. Oh, yes, dude. This is a nasty decoy. The answer is knight to e6. Now, here's the thing. Give yourself 3 minutes. Pause the video, see if you can find the solution. I'm just giving you the hint. I'll be back in 3, 2, 1. Okay, the move is knight to e6. If you figured this out, give yourself a thumbs up on that one. It was awesome. Because the queen is under attack, right? I'm also attacking this knight. So this is a double attack, and it's a rare double attack where you got one piece attacking one and another piece attacking a different target. The different target is the queen and this pawn. Knight e6. If he moves to a stupid square, I'd have knight takes c7 check. But his knight guards that. It's okay. Watch this. This is nasty. You lose, buddy. Oh, you're dead. That's what I saw when I was analyzing this, and I said, oh, well, let's just stop. Boom. Queen wins a knight in broad daylight. Okay? Notice I'm a knight ahead. We both have one bishop, and we both have two rooks. So that sequence of knight e6 set me up for the queen, decoy fork. You're welcome. Chess is hard, but when you win, it's awesome. Okay? Here, it looks like the winning move is not obvious. Bishop checks. This is a fence rook. He cannot cross this line. And that's check. King f1 forced. Well, how about rook to d1? Rut-row. He's got king to crud. When I check him, he's got king to g2. All right. Bishop checks, king to f1. If I check him, king to g2 attacking my bishop. I take his rook, he takes my rook. I'm not gaining anything here. But let's look for the in-between move. Secondary check. Check, king to f1. What if we play knight to e3 check? Now g2's cut off. The bishop owns this square. So we've made a wall. The knight guards the two light squares. The bishop guards the dark square. So bishop g3 check, king f1, knight e3 check, king g1 forced. Now, rook checks. What are you going to do now, Bobby Fischer? King goes to, well, you can't go to h2 because my bishop owns that too. In fact, the knight and bishop create a Three Stooges checkmate. Bishop checks, king f1, knight to e3 check. The bishop gives me a virtual Mo. The knight on e3 gives me the virtual Larry. The bishop on g3 gives me a virtual Curly. Satanly. This sets up a Three Stooges checkmate. Block, block, block. Bishop goes to e1. Rook takes bishop checkmate. He resigns. Outstanding. You just can't make this stuff up. Which is ironic because I'm making this up as I go. Because I don't know what's going on. This is all chess detective. I'm figuring this crud out. At no, 40 is not a record. The record I have is 52 or 53. So we're doing real good though. The obvious move is checking with the queen. What does this do? Brute force technique. Check. King to the corner. Doesn't do much, to be honest, does it? Oh, wait a second. It does allow me to play bishop to d6, attacking this queen. Where are you going? Where are you going now, Bobby Fischer, is what my father would say. Queen checks on c5. King goes to the corner. He could also play technically rook to f2, but really we're not checking him for a queen fork or something. This is a clearance move. We're clearing this diagonal to allow bishop to d6 because that move is just devastating. He's screwed, man. Look at this. This is just nasty. That's nasty. Queen takes bishop. Yeah, well, rook takes queen. You lose, buddy. Okay. Well, you're asking for it now, son. Things to look at. Bishop pinned by my queen doesn't defend this. I can play bishop takes, but he plays queen takes. That's no good. Throw that away. I can play knight takes bishop. Pawn takes knight. Queen takes pawn check. Does that do anything? Well, it does. He can, now I'm attacking this knight a second time. If he defends it, well, let's say if he doesn't defend it, if he goes queen to e7, I can just play bishop or queen. I can't play queen takes, actually, because my queen's pinned by his queen. So knight takes bishop, always start from the beginning. Pawn takes, queen takes check. Queen e7, bishop takes d5, defending my queen. And if he takes my queen, bishop takes queen, I win a piece. All right? So I'm removing this knight from liability, taking the bishop and weakening this check. And I'm going to win this knight for free. So knight takes bishop, pawn takes knight, queen takes pawn check. If he says no, my knight's hanging, and he could go, either knight can go back to e7, but then the bishop is now a battery with my queen, and queen takes f7 check is nasty. King to d7, and bishop checks takes on bishop takes, or bishop moves to e6 with check. He's in trouble. King to d6, bishop comes forward. He's getting annihilated. Oh, you're gonna be tough, eh? All right, let's take a look. I'm thinking knight takes queen. You know what? I hate to admit this. I didn't even look at that. His knight was attacking my queen. Spidey senses, man. I felt like I'm winning, and I was, but that's a huge mistake. It happens, man. It happened right on camera, right in front of your face. So I can play. This is a desperado now. Knight takes queen. So I took a bishop. This is what I call the desperado helpers. I'm going to sit back here so you can see this in frame. Okay, I took a bishop. He took a queen. I can take a queen with his knight. And the problem he has is that his knight is under attack. His other knight is under attack by my knight. So if he takes my knight, I'm going to take his knight on e3. Okay? If he doesn't take my knight and moves his knight out of danger, like say knight takes g2, I'll go king to f1, counterattacking his knight with my king. And again, if he takes my knight, I take his knight with the king. If he goes knight takes g2 check, king f1, knight moves out of the way to h4, well, then I play knight takes c6, and he'll play pawn takes knight. He's the knight down in every variation. Now, in a tournament, I do all of this under the table like this, and they don't know exactly what I'm doing. I don't do this in front of them, not because it's illegal, because it's not illegal. It just, you look like an idiot. Okay, so I do this, and then at the end of the calculations, my chess brain says, I'm a piece ahead. And I pull my hands out and look at them. You know, down here, you can't see this. I'm pulling this up for the camera. I go, oh, 3 versus 2. I'm right. You lose. One of the things, if you look at all my videos, I do the desperado. Not once in any video I have ever made have I made a mistake on my desperado counting fingers. Not once. The reason why is because I figured this desperado counting out in the early 80s, and I've been doing it for over 40 years in tournaments or videos. He did exactly what I said. He would go here and check me, which if I'm stupid and go to a king to d1, well, then he's even. And I told you, if he takes my knight, I take his knight. Let's take a count. He's got bishop and knight and 2 rooks. I got bishop and knight and 2 rooks and another bishop. You lose. I've told you I'm 1 piece ahead. Ay, ay, ay. Well, here's an interesting idea. My idea is, can I take advantage of rook takes bishop check, queen takes rook is forced, and can I do anything of value as a result of this move? Doesn't look like it, does it? Queen takes bishop is no good because he goes queen takes queen, rook takes queen, king takes, that's garbage too. What if I do bishop f7 check? Queen takes is forced. Then I could go maybe rook to h8 check. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So bishop f7 check. Queen takes bishop. Rook h8 check. King takes h8 is forced. But what do I have? Oh, no, I don't have that. I got rook h5 check. King goes to g8. What have I gained here? Looks like I gained nothing, to be honest. So far, all of this bishop f7, queen takes is forced. Well, he could make a move, king f8, but queen takes looks like a winning move for him. What about rook? Oh, this is the move. You can tell when the chess master figures it out on the video. Bishop checks, queen takes bishop, desperado time. He takes my bishop. I hit him with rook takes g7. No, idiot, that doesn't work. He doesn't have to play king takes. He can play queen takes. If I go bishop f7 check, queen takes, rook takes g7 check, he can play queen takes check here. If he had to play king takes, like bishop f7, queen takes f7, rook takes g7 check, king takes g7, we hit him with rook to h7 check, winning the queen. So that's a decoy, an X-ray attack. That's not what's going to get him. Not yet, anyway. But this bishop f7 check idea, queen takes, is pretty good. We're just trying to zing him. Rook takes, queen takes. Can he play queen takes is the question. So, I mean, okay, let's just go. Bishop, queen takes, rook takes, queen takes. Do we have anything? We don't have queen to d8 because the rook guards it. Son of a freak. Good grief, Charlie Brown. Bishop f7, queen f7. That's the best move for sure. And queen takes queen, king takes queen. Oh, yes. So, yes, I saw an idea with the X-ray attack that failed because I later saw the sequence that gets it. But now I find the counter sequence. Bishop f7 check, exclamation. Queen takes bishop, the best move. Queen takes queen, check, best move, exclamation. King takes f7. It looks horrible because you normally don't do what I've done. But look what we can do. We can play rook to h7. And I am winning this bishop back because he can't guard this. The bishop can't be guarded a second time. The king is on f7. So he moves, and what happens, I don't know if this is good enough. He makes a move, and I'm going to play rook takes bishop. Well, what does that do, dummy? Bishop takes, bishop checks, queen takes, queen takes, king takes, rook h7. What if he goes like bishop to d7? Well, I've got rook checks, king to e6. I mean, he's fine, right? I'm winning a piece back, but I'm still a piece down because I'm a piece down right now. So winning a piece back is not the complete answer. It's close. Oh, you idiot. I was right the first time. I lost my focus. Watch this. Bishop f7 check. Queen takes is forced. Okay? Because if he doesn't take it, he has to go king f8, and he's getting annihilated. But anyway, bishop f7, queen takes f7. Now my queen is attacking his queen. His king is the only defender, and I was correct. Rook h8 check is the decoy. He can't play king takes rook because I play queen takes queen and you lose. But he has to play it. So bishop f7 check, queen takes, rook to h8 check, your mama. Yeah, whatever. King to c2, duh. You lose, buddy. This is what is a famous chess player who was also an MD, Dr. Tarash. He came up with the phrase in Latin that translates to be chess blindness. Failure to see a move. I failed to see that my gut feeling was rook h8 at the very beginning of the problem was winning, but I didn't realize that you can't take and king takes rook, but I would just play queen takes queen. I would have had a momentary chess blindness of missing queen takes f7. Chess blindness. And this is like over, he was, I want to say he was in like it was before 1920. He was a world championship. They didn't have, they had world championship. Yeah, he was a world championship level player. So famous Dr. Tarash. Chess blindness is what I just had. It occurred and I bypassed it all in the same problem, luckily for me. So there you go. You learn chess blindness. Okay. I don't know. It looks to me that we want to play a move that's fairly simple, like maybe, I don't know. I want to say rook to e7. He can play rook takes bishop, and I can play rook takes knight. The threat of rook to e7 is that I'm threatening to do, I don't know, something else. I could play rook to f6, either one, and, well, actually, no, that's no good. I got to be careful. He's not just threatening to play rook takes bishop. He's threatening knight takes bishop. Okay? So if I play rook to f6, like rook 1 f6, that doesn't do any good. He plays knight takes bishop. And if he played rook takes, I could play rook takes, and then, well, it still doesn't work. I'm losing. I lose any way you cut it. I could play rook 7 to f6, but then knight takes bishop, and then rook takes pawn doesn't do jack. Well, that's not 100% true, but it doesn't do very much. Fudge. And if I move my bishop, Karudsky, if I move my bishop, he takes my rook. Son of a freak. We are in trouble. Okay. If I go rook f8 check, knight takes, I'm in trouble. Again. This guy's got me 6 ways to Sunday. Rook to e7 is a good move in the context of if he plays knight takes, I can play rook 1 to f7 and have a perpetual check for the most part. Rook e7 attacking the knight. So if he plays rook takes bishop, I can play rook takes knight and I'm safe-ish. I'm going to win a pawn here or there. I don't know if this is the right move. Rook to e7. I might be able to only draw the position. But if I move my bishop, he takes my rook. He's got a double attack, triple attack on this rook. I got one defender. I can't move him really any place else. Rook e7. Rook takes bishop, rook takes knight, and I'm safe. Knight takes, and if knight takes bishop, rook 1 to f7 threatens a perpetual check of rook g7, king h8, rook h7, king to g8, rook to g7, king to f8, rook to f7, etc., etc. It seems like the only move. not attacking the knight. Every move I make that doesn't attack this knight looks to be just absolutely losing. Like rook d7, he just takes it. Rook takes bishop, idiot. I can't bishop check him. I can't rook check him. You got me on that one, bro. Let's look and see. We're going to get a free lesson. You got me on that one. That move doesn't work. He just plays knight takes bishop. Why wouldn't you play knight takes bishop? Knight takes bishop, check, whatever. What am I doing? What can I do here? I could check him. Oh, check. He goes here. I'd check him with this rook on f1. That's a checkmate. I'm an idiot. There you go. Knight takes loses. Because, you remember when I told you about x and then x plus 1? I looked x moves deep and forgot to look plus 1. There you go. That's a free lesson. I got a free lesson myself. Let's go with the obvious. Queen checks, rook checks, bishop to f8, bishop to h6. It's a checkmate that he cannot stop. Good enough. That was easy. This is unstoppable checkmate. There's nothing he can do. He can sacrifice his queen, but when he stops checking me, I checkmate him. What? What? Oh, it's bishop takes. I'm sorry. I was explaining to you what happens. So I distracted myself. That's not a chess mistake. That's a video making mistake because I see that bishop takes free queen. In a tournament, I'm not going to miss this. So that's a video making mistake. But I lost my focus. That's a chess mistake. The obvious move, rook checks on d3 guarded by my king. He's forced to play, in fact, king e2, rook takes rook check. King goes to f1. Rook here is checkmate. This is a self-immobilizing Three Stooges checkmate. He Three Stooges made it himself. Virtual Mo, Larry, and Curly. That's super rare. Oh my God. This is a windmill. Or is it? There's two kinds of windmills. The normal windmill, rook takes pawn check, king here, and then if I move my rook with check, discover from the bishop, he just takes the bishop. Fine. However, there's another windmill. Bishop takes pawn, and I'm threatening to take his rook. But I can do another different windmill. Rook takes pawn check, king h1, rook takes h2, check. Double check, actually. Now, he can't take the bishop, so he's forced to take the rook. Does it do any good? That's the question. I don't think it does. I think rook takes is check, king here. I could play rook takes f2 check, pawn captures bishop, rook captures knight is not check. But we're doing okay. The other idea is that if I play bishop takes g2, he's got an unstoppable bishop to f3 checkmate is what he's looking at. That's what he's staring down the double barrel of. I'm threatening to play bishop takes g2 with a threatened unstoppable checkmate. A bishop to f3 is a checkmate. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, that's not true. Bishop takes pawn. He can play f3 or f4. And then I can play bishop takes rook, check, king takes bishop. Okay, in that place he has rook, bishop, and knight. I've got two rooks and a knight. So I'm going to exchange ahead. I'm winning for sure. but is it the most I can win? Is bishop takes here. Rook checks is nasty. Ah, there's another move. Clearance sacrifice. Rook takes g2 check. King to h1 forced. Rook to g1 double check. King takes rook. Rook replaces rook on g8 check. And that is a checkmate. That's the answer. This is the windmill mastery. You got to master the windmill. And you see why. Rook takes pawn check. Rook to king to h1 only move. Rook to g1 double check, double exclamation. King takes rook. Rook g8 check. It's game over. That's the kind of move you hardly ever see. Outstanding. Okay, we've recovered quite well. Here's an interesting idea. If we attack this queen, knight to b5, he's got to go queen e7 to defend this bishop. Okay, so that's a possibility. We could play bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop, knight takes c7, not really gaining much. We are attacking this rook, threatening to go and fork him on e6. Ah, so we got a fork there. So we really knight b5, queen e7, bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop, knight takes c7, attacking this rook, and the square of e6 to fork the queen and the other rook. The only square this rook can defend this square from is e8. So rook to e8, and we'd still just play knight takes rook. So we're going to win in exchange for nothing. We're forking him, forking rook and the forking square. So this is a, fork removed. I'm forking to fork you. I guess the response to that is go fork yourself. No. Look, knight checks, forks rook and king. Now he's attacking this, but I don't care. Why? Knight e2 check, king to f1, for example. Rook takes rook, in between move, Zwischenzug. So if I play rook takes rook and he plays rook takes rook, then knight takes rook and the fork comes through. So knight e2 check, king f1 to counterattack my knight. If I play knight takes rook, he plays bishop takes rook, which is good for him, and I play rook takes, and I'm doing okay, but I didn't do anything special. But it's knight e2, king f1, rook takes rook, threatening rook takes rook check. That's the Zwischenzug that wins the game. What? That's bull. That's just absolutely winning. What is wrong with you? Really? Oh yeah, I saw this. Again, x+1, idiot. I didn't pay attention. My bad. Well, I had so many great ones that it's fine. You got to see just moves that were so awesome, I can't not publish this video because they're just once in a lifetime lessons in a video setting. It's fantastic stuff. So I saw this, but I didn't, maintain focus and go to the final end. So x+1 is the same thing. That happened. x+1 happened 3 times. 2 of them I made a mistake on. Man, it's terrible. I should not have missed either one. I should not have missed any of those problems. That's my fault. Okay. Now, some people would say, you're old, you messed up. No, that's not the answer. It's not that I'm old. It's that I was lazy. That's the answer. And here's the secret of chess. When you make a mistake, the only way to get better from that mistake is to admit that you made a mistake, figure out what that mistake was, and admit it like a man. x+1, the first problem. Second problem, I was making a video, lost focus, and didn't play the bishop takes queen. That was stupid. Now in a tournament, that would never happen. because, duh, I'm not making a video anywhere but here. So that one we can excuse going, okay, I see that you made a video and you're explaining stuff. That is one of the dangers of making videos explaining these problems live to being recorded, is that I can't edit that out, because I don't edit out mistakes. I admit them and, do better next time, baby. So, okay, X plus one video making mistake of not focusing. It's still legitimately a chess problem that can occur. So you're learning from my mistake. Great. And then X plus one again. The thing is, I made 3 mistakes here. Take it like a man, and you get better. I get the enjoyment of teaching some great lessons, which I did in this, no question about it. That was, 46 great ones. I made 3 mistakes and learned from my own mistakes. So I'm teaching you, and then I teach myself as well. Everybody wins. So it's disappointing and unfortunate, but guess what? That's reality. Deal with it and get better. So this is how I get better. I am better now than I was earlier this year. I'm still improving my chess, even though I'm age 62. Normally people don't improve. They plateau, or they're going down, what have you. I'm motivated to be successful with these videos. So total winner for me. Total winner for you as well. Everybody's good. So hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you guys again. Tell your friends. I'm sure they'll enjoy these, because everybody enjoys getting stronger. Pump up your mind with chess. That's what I do. So see you guys later. Had a great time here. And as always, like and subscribe.